Hi, and thanks for joining us on the Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeff Bellomo. I hope you're doing well today. I just want to remind everybody, please do not take what you hear today on this radio show or any other radio show for that matter as legal advice. If you have a legal issue, please seek out an attorney in your state that is licensed to practice law and meet with them individually to hire them to discuss your specific situation. This radio show or any other radio show does not constitute an attorney-client relationship, and you should not take advice that is given to make legal decisions. This is for entertainment and informational purposes only, so please contact an attorney in your state licensed to practice law in the area that you are looking for. Now, if you're in Pennsylvania and you're looking for advice in the estate planning and elder law arena, we would love to help. 717-845-5390 or on the web, www.bellomoassociates.com. We'd certainly be more than happy to assist. Today on our podcast, we are going to talk about Bellomo and Associates, the team and the systems and processes that we use to provide the best result possible for our clients. And also, how do we provide that boutique experience for every client that comes in the door? And what does that look like? So, if you have been listening to the podcasts, you know a little bit about my background as far as how we got into the elder law arena in particular, which is my mother became very ill. 2 weeks before the bar exam, she got rushed to the hospital. And of course, I got out to Pittsburgh as fast as I possibly could and learned that she has advanced stages of cancer. And the surgeon was, very confident in his abilities as a surgeon, but certainly not confident in the outcome or the care that would be needed for mom. So one of the comments that he made was, you want to start looking into in-home care, assisted living, nursing home. And we knew nothing. I mean, you talk about being completely blindsided, not knowledgeable. That was our family. And, the surgeon, obviously a nice guy, very good surgeon, but we asked right out of the way, is dad going to lose the house? Is there a way to protect assets? Is there a way to get mom the care that she needs, but not have dad lose everything? What are the differences between assisted and personal versus skilled, versus in-home versus hospice? What's Medicare, Medicaid? And obviously the surgeon just shrugged his shoulders and said, I have no idea. You should really seek out an attorney to assist you with those questions. So we went to an attorney. And we paid $300 consult simply to meet with the attorney. And at the end of the hour, I said, well, what are the answers to the questions? Is dad going to lose the house? How are we going to pay for it? What's the difference between Medicare and Medicaid? What are the differences between assisted, personal, skilled? How are we going to pay for it? And the attorney kind of just looked at me and said, well, you have to pay us for that. And I said, well, I did. We paid $300. Well, that was to meet with us. But if you hire us today for the plan of $15,000, we will go ahead and roll that $300 consult fee into your $15,000 planning fee. But if you step foot out of the office, you will forfeit your money. Well, I did what most of you would do, which is I left. Walked right out that door and did not look back. And I went to another law firm, and guess what happened? The exact same thing. And now we're out $600. Later in the week, mom comes out of the surgery, down off the morphine. What's the first questions out of her mouth? How are we going to pay for it? What's the differences? Is dad going to lose the house? And unfortunately, I could not answer any of those questions, even though I had spent $600 of their money. Now, I made a promise in that moment. I made a promise that was not going to happen on my watch. Not going to happen when I became a lawyer and I was practicing law. The one thing that I completely was naive about and underestimated grossly was the fact that I knew nothing, and the fact that, You can have all of these wonderful degrees, right? I'm very, very blessed and fortunate that I am a certified elder law attorney under authorization of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. I have a master's of laws in taxation, a certificate in estate planning. But the bottom line is, at that point in my career, late 20s, early 30s, all I needed was a job, a job, right? Those are the only initials I needed at that point, a job, and I got one and loved my experiences. Everything about the firms that I worked for before I went on my own was wonderful. The knowledge that I gained, the experience that I gained. But the problem is, in 2008, I realized that I became one of them. I was leaving a meeting. I put my hand out to shake the client's hand. And I said, well, that'll be $300. If you hire us today, we will roll that over into the planning fee. If you don't hire us today, you'll forfeit your money. And I burst into tears, right? I knew in that moment, oh my, I became one of them. I'm no better than them. I'm no different than them. I am one of them. And I called my mom and said, Mom, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to be a social worker or a teacher like I should have done from the beginning. My mom hung up. I called her back like 3 minutes later and said, Mom, we must have got disconnected. No, we didn't. She said, I hung up on you. What do you mean? Right? Why would you hang up on me? Most parents are proud of their kids when they're following their dreams. I've always wanted to be a social worker or a teacher. My mom called BS that day. She said, no, you didn't, Jeff. You always wanted to be a lawyer. You don't agree with the billing practices. You don't agree with the way that the practice of law is currently occurring. The Jeffrey Bellomo that I raised changed the industry. He would do everything he could to change how it occurs for other people so that what happened to our family doesn't happen to other families in that hospital. That's not the Jeff Bellomo I know. That's what he would do. Not this, not run. Well, I did quit my job. I did open up an estate planning and elder law firm. And it was very important to me to make it all about education so that what happened to my family does not happen to everyone else. You should not be learning about what can be done. What are the differences between Medicare, Medicaid, personal assisted, skilled? Those are things that you should be able to go to when there's nothing wrong and learn the information. And that way, the crisis will be maybe not averted. It's still going to be a crisis potentially, but a lot less stressful because you know the answers and you know what to do. So I did that. February 16th of 2009, we opened up Bellomo and Associates, estate planning and elder law firm, and it was just me, right? And I had a partner at the time, Nate Platt. So Nate, if you're listening to this, hey buddy, I hope you're doing well. I hope the family is well. But within about 6 months, Nate had to head out of York and head back to the Pittsburgh area to be near his family for his children who were having some health issues. And lo and behold, I'm on my own 6 months after we kind of went out. And I had an integral team member, Tammy Ely, who joined me at the time. And we found an organization called Lawyers with Purpose. And the organization has their entire model about an education-based law firm where you give free workshops. And if clients attend the workshop, they get a free consultation. It completely aligned with our core values and who we were and what it was that we were trying to create. And certainly helps finding an organization that has the systems and processes already built in. And my goal was not only to give the education, but to make it predictable, to make the results predictable so that no matter who did the meetings, you knew what the result would be based upon the information. Not cookie cutter, but just systematized and processed so that different people could plug into the meetings, but the result for the client would be the same. The experience for the client would be the same regardless. So we started with nothing. We started just two of us building the systems and processes, which is what has allowed us today, in 2022, to be around 24 to 27 team members, because everything is built around systems and processes and providing a boutique experience to the client so that they feel like they're our only client, when in fact, obviously, we have, clients that we're working on at the same time, but we want that to be a very predictable experience. So if a person calls into our office, there are at least 4 to 5 client service coordinators. Some are in office, some are out of office, right? When you're in the building and people are walking in and they're standing there and they're standing over you, sometimes it's difficult to answer the phones or difficult to care for the client that's on the phone. So we have people answering the phone off-site as well, and other people in the building who are backup in case they need to come up and assist. What we do there is we try to get to know as much as we can about the client, what the experience is or what they're going through, what they're trying to accomplish, and then we sort of guide them into the correct path. So if it's an estate planning client who's looking to do powers of attorney or wills or asset protection trust or tax trusts, probate avoidance trust, those are estate planning. So we provide them with our weekly workshops. Currently, the workshop that we're giving is called The 3 Lands to Your Family Security, where we talk in a workshop setting for 2 hours, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, we tell stories. We tell all kinds of things to get people to realize the importance of planning, and also what occurs if there's lack of planning, right? So we just want to open people's eyes to what can happen, what can be done, how can you avoid it, and at the same time, what are the answers to all the basic questions that I've always wanted to know? And if a person attends the 2-hour workshop, they then get a free consultation with a team member. And that way, you're learning the information, we're telling you the prices in the workshop. Now you're coming into the office for the free consult. Again, we're reiterating the prices. We're finding out what's important to you, what are the goals that you have. So we have you fill out a yellow information sheet that we call the yellow sheet, or the PIF, the personal information sheet. And what we're looking for there is what's important. What made you pick up the phone? And then when you come into the free consult, the first question the attorney is going to ask you is, what's bringing you in here today? What can I help you with? Now, we've already looked at your yellow sheet. We've already looked at the evaluation from the workshop, which you also rated things on that workshop as well. So we already have a pretty good idea, but we want to hear it. We want to make sure it aligns with what you've been telling us in the yellow sheet and on the eval. And whatever you say, we write down. That way we remember it on our goal focuser sheet, so we could always reference back to what was the first thing they told us. What was the first thing that they said was important? Then we walk through what is called a vision clarifier. And the vision clarifier is essentially taking you from your world into our world as estate planning and elder law attorneys, providing you pricing, providing you details of the plans, what they do, what they don't do, and costs up front. That way, you can make an informed decision knowing the costs, which you already were told in the workshop, but just reiterating them so that way you get to decide what makes sense for you and your family. And then, whenever you're ready, you schedule the design meeting, assuming you want to move forward. We design the plan. About 2 to 3 weeks later, we have you come back to sign, and we go over the plan with you. We have you sign it, and we get everything moving forward. And then if it is a trust or something that needs to be funded, we will then work with you on funding. And we do have a funding department currently with 1 person in it, soon hopefully to be 2, to assist in making sure that we get the assets titled the way that they need to be so that the plan can work effectively, right? So all told, there are several people behind the scenes in the estate planning department drafting the documents, reviewing the documents. Why does it take 2 to 3 weeks, to have me come back to sign? Well, because there's a lot in drafting. Believe it or not, the software program that we use has over 5,900 variables. It is not a form. It is not a 3-page, all size fits all, one size fits all. Literally 5,900 variables in every plan. So it takes a lot of time to go through and input all of that information. And then we have to have somebody review it, review the spellings, review the plan, make sure everything is the way that the attorney or the team member in the meeting, designed it. And then eventually we have you come back. So that's why there's a little bit of lead time there, because there's a lot of steps that have to occur. And then we get it in place, and then we figure out if we have to do funding and move forward from there. Now, if a person calls in and they say, I'm in crisis, my mom's going into the nursing home, my dad, my husband, my wife, and it's probably going to be immediate or very soon, or they need skilled care in the home, or they need assistance in the home, or they're in the hospital and they're about to go to rehab, we would be sending them to a different workshop. Now they're going to a workshop called Medicaid Crisis. 2-hour workshop, all about that Medicaid arena. What is the 5-year look back period? Why do we need 5 years of statements? What's the process going to be? What can I expect? Are there things that I can do ahead of time if I'm not quite ready right now? And ultimately prepping someone if crisis is an issue, if the nursing home or skilled care in the home is where we are. Again, free consult, get to meet with the team member to discuss the costs. What's it going to be? What's the plan going to be? And, roughly speaking, how are we going to get the result that we're guaranteeing? Then the client decides if they want to hire us, knowing the cost up front. Then they move forward and they're assigned a team member in the Medicaid department. Currently in our Medicaid department, we have 3 to 4 team members between getting you in the meeting, getting the information that we need, and then collecting the 5 years, and then walking you through the process to getting you ready not only to file the application, but also to put the plan in place to be able to protect assets. So there's several people in that department as well who are going to triage and work with us in getting the clients to the point where they are ready to rock and roll. Probate, trust administration, right? Somebody calls in and says, so-and-so died, a loved one passed away. That's called administration. So we're taking whatever the plan was that they had and administering the assets, getting them to the individuals or the people that they wanted to get the assets and the information to. And we then follow the process that we have to follow, whether it be probate or whether it be trust administration. We did have another podcast where we went very deep into what is probate, what is non-probate, what's the differences. So we're certainly not going to touch that today, but suffice it to say, when you're dealing with administration, it is very similar. We provide a guide to the executors who are going through it, a step-by-step comparison of what is probate administration versus trust administration. And when you're dealing with a revocable trust or an irrevocable grantor trust, which is what we use for our asset protection trusts, the process is merely identical. In fact, there's one major difference. In probate, the executor or executrix has to go down to the courthouse, raise his or her right hand, swear and affirm that they will abide by provisions of law relating to inheritance tax and duly administer the estate. If they will, please say, I do, please sign here. Now, assuming there's no line, or nowadays after COVID, you actually can do it over Zoom. You show up at your appropriate time, you bring up your Zoom account, you do the swearing in right on Zoom, and therefore they don't even have to go down to the courthouse. Everything else is the same. The processes match almost identically. So there isn't a lot of difference because the processes are very similar from the estate planning and attorney perspective. So we're going to walk you through, whether it be trust admin or probate admin, to where we get the assets distributed and to the individuals that need to have it, any applicable inheritance tax returns, fiduciary income tax returns that need to be filed, any notices that need to be done are all provided as well. So in the administration department, we have probate paralegals, we have trust admin paralegals. That department is currently around 6 people who are devoted solely to administration and making sure that the estates get administered as requested and as we need to according to the terms of the will or the trust. So that's pretty much the three biggest areas. We also have workshops for special needs planning. There has been a prior podcast that we've done about special needs trust planning. What are the differences between first party, third party? What's an ABLE account? What's a pooled trust? So if you're looking for that information, definitely head on over to the other podcast that was solely dedicated to that. But for the purpose of today, we kind of fall that special needs planning more under the umbrella of estate planning. So you're kind of looking at estate planning, probate, Medicaid. And then we also have our long-term clients, the clients who have been around for several years, and we have a maintenance family where they pay us a small amount per year to maintain their plan, to come in, to make changes, monthly speakers, that there are events going on in our office. We have a monthly event, a maintenance event every year, talking about all the changes in the law that occurred, how it affects your plan, and what you need to do. We have some fun events like picnics and dinner at John Wright, and we get to play bingo and games outside and have a DJ. But what that does is it allows families to come in as often as they need. A lot can change once you do a plan. So one thing we want to make sure is that it's up to date. Whether your family situation changes or the law changes, we want to make sure your plan is what it needs to be. And for the people in our maintenance family, they get a guarantee on the back end of what we would charge to administer their estate. Currently, it's a 1% fee, which is significantly less. In probate, most attorneys are charging on average 5%. So certainly, if you have $1 million estate and you're charging, 5%, that could easily be a $50,000 fee. 1% would be $10,000. That's a $40,000 savings simply by being in the maintenance family. So not only are you getting changes and speakers and events and a lot of fun, you're also saving a ton of money for your family on the back end. So it's a win-win for everybody. And we have at least two people that kind of plan the events, make sure that the maintenance events are going well and the maintenance family is occurring the way that we want it to. So it's a lot that runs into it. Our goal from day one was a boutique experience that provided answers in the estate planning and elder law context so that what happened to my family does not happen to yours. We are running weekly workshops in Lancaster and York. The estate planning and the Medicaid planning workshops are on a very regular basis. Our probate and trust admin are typically through a link, and our special needs presentations, I do them in the community, but also we have a link for that one as well. So constantly giving free educations, constantly kind of giving the information out, and then having clients come in for free, learn the price up front so that they know the answers, they know who we are, they haven't spent any money yet, and then they get to decide if they want to work with us. One thing's for sure, not one person in this world could do everything. I consider myself a very good attorney, but I consider my team way better. And I'm very blessed and very lucky to have, 24 to 27 team members behind me that share my core values, that believe in me, that believe in my family, that were with me when we had nothing and we were struggling and living off my wife's salary. And it means the world to me to know that we haven't changed. We're exactly who we were in February of 2016. There's a few extra people on the team now, but that allows us to continue to give that boutique experience as we grow so that every client feels like they're our only client. And that's where systems and processes come in. We are very proud of what we built structurally so that no matter how big we got, we could always guarantee that the client experience would be similar. So that's a little bit about Bellomo and Associates. We've gotten several requests since the podcast have started that, they were too legal technical and they wanted to get to kind of loosen up a little and learn a little bit about the process at Bellomo and Associates. What are the workshops and why, do people go to them? Avoiding a workshop doesn't make sense. You can do it. You can pay an initial meeting fee to meet with an attorney or a team member, But honestly, the workshops are for you, for the client, to learn ahead of time so that they're not having to make a decision in a room with not knowing the information that they should know. So thank you for taking the time to be with us today on the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. We look forward to seeing you on a subsequent podcast and talking all things estate planning and elder law. We'll see you real soon.